Okay, first of all, I would love you to know that there are two types of peer pressure when we are talking about peer pressure.
Right.
There is the negative peer pressure and the positive peer
Right,
pressure.
right.
So it all depends on what is it that you really want as an individual. If you succumb to negative peer pressure, too bad for you. And if it's for the benefit, that's positive peer pressure.
Right.
So it all depends on the perception of an individual.
Yeah. Let's now take, let's shift gears into depth, talking about the peer pressure motion, right? We've seen that majority of this situation, or the majority of the motion of peer pressure does really happen in an age whereby the youths mostly in that, population setup. Do you agree to that, or what's your thought concerning that?
Yes, I agree to that. Teenagers, adolescents, and youths are the mostly affected.
Why is that?
Peer pressure. I think it's a stage that one cannot think rightly, and maybe one has not really developed goals in life, what he or she wants to achieve. And the youth and the teenagers are termed as vulnerable. So they are also vulnerable to their thinking capacity. How they think, they are vulnerable to so many things. So
right.
I think that's why they succumb to the peer pressure.
Right.
Yeah.
So being vulnerable, that means sometimes you might be short of judgment, whereby you may fail to make the correct decision for yourself.
Exactly.
Does this problem really begin from, a family setup whereby when an individual or a youth has been, taken up, as from being a kid to being a youth in a certain setup at which then there hasn't been quite, proper guidance as well?
Yeah, I think it all depends on how one is also raised up, because the family setup really matters. The parenting skills that we instill in our children really matters a lot when someone is growing up. And to the parents, I think what we need to do to our children, we really need to instill confidence and self-motivation in them.
Right.
This really helps so much. Yeah.
So, but you've said about, the parents playing a role whereby they can, motivate their kids in doing something whereby it will maybe raise their self-esteem as well. Do you think what is that major effect whereby peer pressure in regards to self-esteem itself? How has it been that this sort of, a relationship whereby peers themselves, a certain individual, a lady or a gentleman, could feel that they're not good enough, being among a certain age group or being with their peers as well?
That's why I say that parents have a bigger role when raising their children. And I think when I'm raised knowing that I'm a girl, I'm perfect and wonderfully made. It's not easy for me to be swayed away, but it starts from the home setup. Because at times you find that our parents will be abusing us emotionally as children. You are a fool, you are an idiot. How do you expect such a kid to grow up?
Right.
This kid has already been violated psychologically and emotionally.
Right.
This kid is not psychologically right. So when growing up, they'll always grow like, no, this is not me. Why am I not like someone else? Why am I not like someone else? And that's why we're told, even when it comes to our academics,
right,
no matter how low a kid's performance is, parents need to appreciate these children. Because it also starts, because let's say it's a family of two children, and one is really praised because the one kid is doing well in school, and the other one is not doing good.
Correct.
So every time it's like, you are a fool, you're like, don't know, like what, like the dirty stuff that they throw at these kids. How do you expect such a kid to grow up? This kid grow up with a low self-esteem, and that's why they see that they are not perfect, they are not appreciated, and whatever they do, if leave alone. So like, if my parent does not appreciate me, what do you expect the community? Will the community appreciate me out here?
True. Speaking of community, let's now shift gears from the family setup itself, and now let's take a look at the society itself, maybe the friends, relatives, or even even the strangers themselves. Sometimes we find that even the peers themselves, it could be a cluster of friends, even maybe in our institutions and so forth, even outside. What really contributes to an individual, a lady or a gentleman, whereby even in a group of friends, in a group of members who hang out or maybe even do something together, but at the same age, they're of the same age, that really contributes to them feeling unworthy of themselves?
Okay, I think first of all, someone needs to accept himself or herself as an individual, and for peers of the same group. If someone looks down on you, and that's why you said it begins at home. But me having the self-confidence in me, me knowing that I'm perfect in whatever I do, and I think there's one thing that you also need to be telling people. People need to compete within themselves. People need to compete, and I'll repeat this, we need to compete within ourselves. Because one thing that that makes us fall into the negative peer pressure, it's the competition. She's a lady, especially for the ladies. Let me just use an example. My classmate is properly dressed, and this is evident, especially at the college and the university level.
Yeah.
But for me, I'm not. Because there's one thing that I always tell my peers: you shouldn't feel ashamed of where you're coming from. Why don't you make it a challenge so that you can work hard and change your situation?
Right.
Because one thing that I think one thing that is the main cause of all this is the copy and pasting lifestyle.
Right.
We all want to copy and paste lifestyle. If someone lives like this, they're lavish, you don't know where that money comes from. Then why can't I enjoy that money? Why don't you work hard and make your own money and have that lifestyle? In fact, a better one than whatever lifestyle the other people are living.
Right. That's true. True. You see, we've seen even in situations whereby peer pressure becomes, too much for someone to handle as well, whereby even sometimes they end up, having some mental health, problems as well. What's your take on that matter as well?
Yeah, actually, I've seen and I've had many people falling into depression, and simply because of the peer pressure. We are not confident, and we are not where we want to be. We want to jump into another step.
Right.
I think even when a baby is born, a baby crawls, then walks, and all that stuff. And this is something that we just need to accept. It's all in us.
Right.
Because I'll come talk to you, but at the end of the day, you as an individual have the power to make a decision. Do I want to change or not? Do I want to fall into this or not?
Right.
Yeah. Because I know I can come talk to you, but at the end of the day, it's you. Now, your perception. I've done my duty. Now, the rest is upon you to do your duty too. Right.
Now, on that same point concerning, mental health crisis as well, as a result of peer pressure. That as you've said that you've witnessed some, maybe of your schoolmates or the ones who you maybe study with at the higher learning institutions, whereby they have been affected negatively by peer pressure. Do you think that the higher, education setup, or the higher education institutions, that they've set up, proper channels or departments whereby they can deal with this sort of, problem per se, the mental health crisis, the low self-esteem as well, as a counseling and guidance, department?
Okay, I think our higher institutions are failing us on that department. And there's that assumption that as long as this person is 18 years, now it's up to them. You are left to the world. It's up to you to do whatever it is that you want. Not knowing that someone might be suffering. And this not only goes to the higher institutions, but as a friend, as a classmate, as a brother, as a sister, as a parent, kindly check on your friends. You don't know what they are going through. Especially for the university students, with this one I can attest. People go through a lot. There's a time that I was going through a lot and no one knew. For me, I used to smile and laugh, and everyone knew that everything is okay, but I was really battling a lot. I was having a condition, so I had to go to the hospital, then in school, and you can imagine when doctors are like, we suspecting that you might be having leukemia or sickle cell. It's the worst news that someone can receive. And you can imagine as a parent, and being that I'm a last one, and the only girl in a family of two brothers, and I'm the only girl. You can imagine the pain that I felt. For me, it was like, why can't I just enjoy like other people? Other people are enjoying life. But for me, I really have to go to the hospital, the checkups, the tests. I know the tests are so painful, but I said no. And I thank my mom, because for her, she was there for me, and compassion also was there for me. They were like, you can be this, no one is given a challenge that is greater than them, and that's why you are the only one, you are the person facing this. Because if I say that, because with that condition, I had to take care of myself.
Right.
And I loved myself, and people need to adopt self-love. Love yourself, no matter what happens, you should be able to love yourself. The moment you love yourself, you automatically get to accept who you are and work or live within your means.
Right.
Because imagine if I couldn't have all that, with the campus lifestyle, drinking, drugs, and substance abuse, maybe I wouldn't have been here today. Maybe I would have died, because the condition was really worse. Yeah, so you can imagine if I was reckless and said, no, let me just party, let me enjoy life like other students are doing.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So, for instance, let us now take a look whereby there could be that, a lady or a gentleman out there, a youth, of course, whereby he or she is going through some tough time, most even maybe because of the topic that we're discussing today. What could be, a little bit of an advice as to whereby or as to which point should someone also seek, emotional support, or even if it's worse, what sort of, channels they should take, or in order to get, some medical assistance somewhere because of the mental state of themselves?
Okay, I believe talking can be one of the best therapies. When you take it out, when you rant it out to someone, just find someone whom you are close to, whom you feel that this is the person who really understands me. Let's try talk. Let's try open up. Don't die within yourself, because it comes to a point that you are exploding inside your heart, inside your mind. You don't know what to do. And if I think that can be the worst stage. That's why you find even people going mad and some committing suicide, which is one of the saddest things, seeing youngsters dying at the age of when they are still very young. This is someone who was full of dreams, and at the end of the day, they are dead. So you don't have to wait for it to reach at that point. When you are seeing that things are overwhelming you and they are too much, find someone to talk to. Because I believe no matter what happens, there is that one person who will always understand you. If it's a friend, try and open up to them. And for those people whom people are coming to open up to them, I think confidentiality should be one of the key values that we have. Because if I come to you, you don't have to go and tell someone else, oh, Christine is going through this, or Cephas is going, Christine is going through this. Your friend, what do you expect?
Right.
That's why you find that some people even decide to commit suicide, because I came to you, I expected this to be a secret, and I expected you to help me, but you're making the situation worse. So for those doing guidance and counseling, privacy really matters, and you have to assure these people who come to you.
That's true. That's some wise word over there. Definitely. Even as she has said, as Christine has said, she said that in case someone comes to you, seeking either emotional or maybe mental support, whereby you can, advise that person, it is really wise for you also to take that time to listen and give the proper advice as well, right?
Yeah.
Also, we have seen in situations whereby some people really feel intimidated, or even their self-esteem really do get down, and they often engage themselves into substance abuse, whereby you find that they want to look cool, or they want to be in a certain class of people, or be in a certain group of members of a certain class, whereby they end up even engaging themselves into this immoral behavior as well. Now, what do you think really contributes to that situation as well?
Okay, I've talked about copy-pasting lifestyle, and this is what I'll say. As an individual, be contented with what you have.
Right.
And I'll repeat this again. Let it be a challenge for you to work hard and be where you want to be. Because for example, why would I engage into drug and substance abuse? And I know that this has effects on me. Let me say alcohol. When going through problems, most of us sought to go to alcohol drinking, but it does not solve the problem. As a matter of fact, it postpones the problem. You wake up tomorrow morning, the problem is still there. In fact, bigger. than how it was
Oh,
last
you
time.
left
So
it.
it does not. And there's always a solution for every problem that we go through, and it's not the end of life. I don't have to engage in sexual activities for me to get money.
Right.
If the money is not there, I can start even a small scale business. Why can't I sell groundnuts? Yes, people will be like, she's a pretty girl, look at her. But no, you know what? You know, at the end of the day, you are the only one who knows what you're going through, and you're the only one who knows what you want. So you really don't have to succumb to it. Find a reason. If you have to fit into a circle of friends, they don't want you. You have to dress like this, or this is what you have to take for you to fit in our circle. Find an excuse. Say,
But
I'll be going to the gym.
That's true, that's true. But we've seen that majority of the youths, especially when they go to these higher learning institutions, maybe they're universities or colleges as well, you find that when someone joins the campuses or the colleges as well, they have a sort of norm or a sort of the way they conduct themselves. It's the same from the beginning, maybe as the first years as well. But by the time they get to maybe third year or second years, there are some things that begin to change as well. Maybe it could be because the parents are not even there anymore, or maybe it could be also because of the environment itself. How has the peer pressure itself also contributed to change of behavior, whereby you find yourself, you could be thinking that you're taking the right path, but the environment itself has already changed you?
Yeah, and I think that's one of the main challenges that especially those in higher institutions are facing. But then, most of us, we forget the goal or the objective for us at the universities.
Correct.
That's what are we there for? And my parent is not watching, no one knows me here. Let the life begin. And I think that is where we lose it.
Right.
As much as I think graduating with the best grades is one of the best things that a parent can be proud of their children. As much as we want to enjoy, yes, we want to party, but I'll tell you this, party responsibly. At the end of the day, have a goal in your life. This is what I want to achieve. Yes, I know the environment can be challenging. It can be really challenging at times.
Right.
And no, for you to make that decision, it really takes a bold step for you to move out of a certain environment. But then you are the one who knows what is good for you and what is bad for you.
Right.
As I have said, I'll come talk to you, but at the end of the day, you are the one with the final decision. And some things are a choice because you are not forced. No one holds a gun onto your head and say you must drink this alcohol, you must take bang, you must do this. No one holds a gun into your head. At the end of the day, being a grown-up and an adult, you can make your own decisions. Yeah.
That's right. And before we go on a short commercial break, do you think also peer pressure, just give us one point whereby peer pressure has also contributed positively, to the youths in our society currently?
Yeah.
In what way?
Let's say, let me talk on my behalf. Working for the community. If you think I'm doing a good job, maybe Christine and her friends are doing a good job, I'm impacting you positively. That is positive peer pressure. I want to be like Christine. I also want to do community work.
Right.
Yeah. I think that's positive peer pressure. So-and-so worked hard and went to the university. Maybe they have a degree, maybe they have a master's. That's positive peer pressure. If I want to keep health, I want to keep fit. That's positive peer pressure. Because at the end of the day, you're going to benefit more.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So positive peer pressure is there. But then, what are you benefiting? What are you gaining? Are you gaining or losing?
Yeah. That's right. Joined by my guest, Christine Rashid, right here on the Talk Circle, your favorite and number one, program for, mentoring, inspiring, informing you, the youths out there. And as we were discussing earlier on concerning matters on overcoming peer pressure, we want to also take a look at, the positive, impact of peer pressure and also as well the negative impacts. What can we do, in order for us to support, being under the situation of peer pressure? What sort of help can we also gain, or what are some of the effects that even, maybe our relatives and friends as well, could be affected by this, by peer pressure as well. So on this segment also, before we continue, I would like you also to, remember to engage with us also on our website, that is www.bosstv.co.ke. Welcome back. And my guest also, you're welcome back to the studio as well. As we were discussing earlier on concerning peer pressure as well, now let's take a look on something that really does have an impact to the youths, either locally, nationally, and also internationally, and that is social media. How has social media itself, impacted, or in relation to peer pressure, really impacted, the youths currently in this generation?
Okay, social media is playing a very big role in our lives, and I think
Correct.
for us to move nowadays, it's social media.
Right.
And having COVID, first of all, so everything is about social media. But then, let me look at both sides. It's at some point it's doing us some good, and at some point it's impacting us negatively.
Right.
And especially to the content creators. Kindly, I hope you know that when I upload something, maybe I'm uploading a video or a photo or just any statement or information.
Right.
Assume that billions of people are watching, your mother, your sister, your younger brothers, maybe your kid, and be like, what information do I really want to pass? What effect am I having at the end of the day?
Right.
Because remember, assume that this is your younger kid, and maybe the content you are uploading is vulgar. Like, how do you expect this kid to take this content? And the funny thing about social media, even kids, not only kids, even pets watch content on social media.
Right.
You have babies, like you can tune into cartoon and the baby really listens and the baby stops crying.
Right.
So content creators really have to filter whatever it is that people are watching. And I think generally the board, especially I think the board classification, I think in Kenya we are trying, they really have a huge task controlling all this content and all that.
Right.
But then also look at it at the end of the day. What impact am I creating? Am I impacting someone positively or negatively? Imagine someone committing suicide because of you. How does it feel? You feel guilty at the end of the day.
Right.
But changing lives, and you are at home, but I'm like, so many people lives have changed positively because of a small thing that I did that impacted someone positively.
True.
And for the parents, I think we really need to be keen with what our kids are watching. I think there are apps that that you can navigate through and see what it is that your kid is watching. So we really have to be careful with what we are giving our children to watch, because it starts at that young age. That is where we are molding this child. But once you are leaving the child on, you can watch whatever it is that you want. That is when you come and find that maybe this kid is doing something else.
Right.
As a parent, you come and realize, and I'm like, I didn't know that this kid won't even respect you. Like, but I've been doing this since. So what's the big deal right now?
Right.
So parents really have to be careful.
Right. And also looking at social media itself, we've seen that most of the youths do consume a lot of things from our social media platforms as well. Some of the negative things that they could probably consume as well, maybe by watching or even listening to. What is the major effect, or do you think are some of the major impact on someone's behavior as an individual, whether it's a youth, maybe, or the older generation, as well as to the younger generations as well?
Okay, you're watching a certain content, and the funny thing is when you start watching certain content, or I'm a fan of a certain musician or a certain celebrity,
right?
It's like becoming an addictive to you. You can't do without it. Let me say, I follow Diamond on his social media pages. For me, going a day without following him, it feels like no, I'm not okay. So I also think we need to, as an individual, we need to take that initiative and self-discipline on what it is that we want to do, what it is that we want to follow, even the kind of celebrities that we want to follow. Because I think recently we've had the story of King Kaka on social media going on the battle. I think that is something that is inspiring someone positively.
Right.
And whoever is out there, like if he has been able to manage this, then why can't I be able to manage this? And we have many positive stories there which are impacting us positively. Why don't we make a good example out of these people? I'm really those who are doing positive things like King Kaka. Actually, for me, it has also inspired me.
Right.
His story has really inspired me a lot.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, that's really true, for sure. Whenever we consume positive things, definitely we end up also behaving in a more appealing and in a more, moral kind of manner as well. Speaking of peer pressure itself as, as a problem or in a negative sort of way, we have seen that maybe in psychological problems or even mental health crisis problems, whereby organizations, apart from also the private or maybe the governmental, organizations, we've seen that there has been some non-profitable organizations that have come up in order to support, maybe to educate concerning some matters that, impact the youths as ourselves in our society. By your own opinion, do you feel that we do have enough non-profitable organizations, or even maybe enough, facilities and departments whereby we are allowed as the youths, to talk about our mental states and also the peer pressure that is surrounding us, either from our family members, friends, as well as, colleagues or classmates or something?
Okay, first of all, I would love to appreciate what the CSOs are doing when it comes to the counseling and peer pressure part. The CSOs and some of the private entities and the non-governmental organizations are really doing a great job out here. But the problem is they are not enough. They are not able to reach everyone. As much as I've talked about social media, yes, and some of these use social media to pass the information. But then there's that person at the ground level who does not even know what Facebook, YouTube is, or they don't even have data, like the network.
Right.
So these people don't get much information as we do in the urban setup.
Okay.
If maybe they could come up with strategies on how they'll reach everyone, or form much of these organizations. And I think the government should also support such organizations, because such organizations are doing a good job. They are saving lives out here. They are trying to impact our lives positively. I think government should be at the front line in supporting such organizations.
Right. That's true. You see, sometimes we do find that even for the non-profitable organizations, whereby the organizations have been formed, whereby they also offer free services, either voluntarily or even maybe as workers. They have really contributed in one way or another. They have been doing an amazing job, and kudos to them as well. Speaking of peer pressure, again, let us now take a look at it on also a negative manner, whereby we have seen also in recent past as well, whereby a lot of the youths have also engaged themselves into crimes as well. Because when the problem of drug abuse comes, also sometimes they feel that, or they even end up into crimes, whereby sometimes they kind of, come together and decide that they're going to do or commit a certain crime in order to satisfy their full needs. What's your take concerning that matter as well?
Well, that's quite gruesome. And not only crimes, we find that even teenage pregnancies,
Right.
I think peer pressure has really contributed a lot to it. Because there's a time when you talk to adolescents and they're like, I think it's a cool thing having a kid. So I'm like, imagine having a kid when you're 18. I'm 24 and I'm afraid of having a kid right now. So yeah, for those engaging themselves in criminal gangs, before doing something, let's just ask yourself, how does it feel killing someone, robbing someone who has not wronged you? Don't you even feel guilty about it? We really need to think deep before doing certain things.
Correct.
And you don't have to fit in for you to be accepted by your peers or by your friend. I would rather be alone but do the right thing rather than be in a group but I'm doing the right thing. Just think of it. Why would I harm someone who has done nothing?
Sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Think of it from that angle.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And also now you've also mentioned a little bit concerning the early pregnancy, you know, whereby we find that even in our setup right now, in this current generation, whereby there has been a lot of, you know, early pregnancies, and it's because some of them do engage themselves into, you know, early sexual practices as well because of the peer pressure itself. What's your take also concerning that matter in depth?
One thing, I think people have normalized teenage pregnancies, and that is where we are getting it from. Remember, this is a kid, and a kid is someone below the age of 18.
Right.
And we assume that below the age of 18, this is someone who has not even finished high school. So how do you expect a baby to carry a baby and bring up a baby? So, you know, like such things, and you'll find that, let me now talk about the adults impregnating these children. First of all, I hope you know that as someone is below 18, you might see that they are grown older. A kid can never consent, not to sex, not to anything. And I hope that is one thing that is taken into action, and people know that. Because, you know, at the end of the day, someone will be like, but she accepted. No, a kid will never consent to anything. That's and right. I think that is where the law comes in. The law really needs to be strict when it comes to teenage pregnancies. Yes, I understand. Sometimes, you know, working in the community, you really get some stories out here, and you're like, oh my God, where do I even start solving this?
Right.
But we need to normalize now the talks on teenage pregnancies. Not in school, not at homes, not on the streets. If we can have everyone banners on the streets like teenage pregnancies, the effects of teenage pregnancies and all that, let that information sink in people. You know, at the moment that when I get that, if someone is like, you're not supposed, teenage pregnancy has some negative effects, you'll drop out of school, you'll be affected, or maybe drug and substance abuse has this and these effects. At the end of the day, and I get this information almost everywhere I jump into, the information automatically sinks into my mind. You know, I might be doing it, but oh no, there's something I read somewhere, or there's an information that I bumped, or my teacher or my mom at home said this, and I know this is wrong. And you know, when with that kind of mentality, maybe like, oh no, let me retract.
Right, right. And also concerning the matter on the society itself in general, that comes to our relatives, the friends, and also maybe the strangers or, you know, colleagues as well. What do you think, in your own opinion, that is the most effective way or the most efficient way at which the society also can perceive and take a look at peer pressure and everything that comes with it and how to deal with it as well?
As a society, we also have a role to play, and we have to play our role effectively.
Right.
I'll say talk, and never get tired of talking. It really does help a lot, because as a society, I don't have to see or as a relative, a young girl or a young boy falling into a certain trap, and I'm like, this does not concern me. He or she is not my kid. And I think this is one thing that, especially nowadays, this is one thing that the society is fond of. As long as it does not affect me directly, then I really don't care what happens. Yes, it might not affect you directly, but it's affecting you indirectly.
Correct.
That's one thing that we need to know. Yes, you might not have a kid that has fallen into teenage pregnancy or drug and substance abuse. So you say, my kids are okay, or that, no. That problem is still affecting you indirectly.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Quite some wise words over there, whereby we do have a role to play in our society, each and every one of us as individuals, as friends, relatives, and also those who are parents as well. We should look at what we offer to the younger generation and also maybe what they consume, and when to talk to them, the emotional support as well, both if emotional and mentally as well. So kindly, if you would let our viewers out there maybe know where they can find you, and as well as your parting shot as well.
Okay, our offices are in Shanzu, on your way to Majaoni, opposite opposite Shimolatewa prison. And you can find me on social media at Facebook at Christian Rashid, Instagram at Christian Rashid, and Twitter as Christian Rashid. And you can also follow our Facebook page on a strategic community organization on Facebook, on Twitter, strategic community and on Twitter, strategic community organization. And one thing that I would love to say, you don't have to fit in. Love yourself, have a goal in life, and know what you want. Have an objective and a goal that you want to achieve, and let it sink in your mind. You can have it written at the wall so that when you wake up every day,
Right.
you can say, oh, this is something that I want to achieve, and
Right.
I really have to work towards it. Because immediately I saw into it, that goal is no more.
Correct.
I'm killing it.
Correct.
And you can imagine what it feels like if I had the power. I had the ability to achieve this,
Right.
but I didn't.
You didn't,
And
yeah.
it's not because someone pushed me. No, I pushed myself.
True.
Yeah.
True.
So love yourself.
That's true.
Peer pressure, it's all about loving yourself and accepting yourself. Let us accept the situations that we are in and have them challenge us to be better versions of ourselves. And
Correct.
always compete within yourself.
Right.
Don't compete with someone else.
Correct. Correct.
Inspire yourself to be a better you every day.
Right, right. Much welcome. And also thank you to you as well for coming through tonight as well. Thank you very much for, participating in this discussion, whereby we have really talked on some, major points, and I'm sure that our viewers out there has really gotten something which, is educative as well. That has been all for tonight on the Talk Circle, right here on your favorite TV station, that is Boss TV. And again, before I take my leave for tonight also as well, I'd like to remind you once more that this coming Sunday, that will be the 17th of October 2021, we are going to have an amazing and superb launch right here, live, coming to you direct, straight from your screens at home. We are going to come live to you on our YouTube channel, as well as we will be engaging with you on our social media platforms, that is from Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter as well. Also continue communicating with us on our website, that is at www.bosstv.co.ke. So kindly, the Talk Circle, fans as well, I would, really appreciate it when you switch in and, let us celebrate this together as a family, because we do value you as a family, as, without you, we wouldn't be here as well. So that has been all. My name is Cephas Kimani. Do have yourself a wonderful, wonderful night, and enjoy the rest of your weekend. See you next time. God bless you. Stay tuned, be kind to one another, and continue watching most of our, all of our contents on our social media platforms. Good night.